ready? Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to today's program on Bangladesh's role in enhancing regional cooperation across South Asia. My name is Rudabi Shahid, and I am a non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council's South Asia Center. It is a pleasure to partner with the Embassy of Bangladesh in Washington, D.C. to bring you this program today. This is the second of two events hosted with the Bangladesh Embassy and His Excellency Ambassador Shahidul Islam. Today, we'll be discussing Bangladesh's role in enhancing regional economic cooperation across South Asia. The post-pandemic period offers an opportunity for South Asia to work together and develop solutions to shared problems, strengthen institutions, and improve infrastructure. As the conflict ceases in Afghanistan for the first time in decades, South Asia is not home to any large-scale armed conflicts. In the years to come, we should be witnessing Bangladesh's rising geopolitical significance, placing it as a key voice on regional issues. Our featured guest is His Excellency Ambassador Shahidul Islam. He has a long and illustrious career serving for his country in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, including previous positions as Secretary General of BIMSTEC, Ambassador to South Korea and France, while concurrently accredited to Algeria and Romania, and the permanent representative of Bangladesh to UNESCO. Mr. Ambassador, we welcome you and thank you for your participation. Moderating this conversation will be Ambassador Osman Siddique, Senior Advisor at the Atlantic Council South Asia Center. Ambassador Siddique was the former ambassador of the U.S. to the Republic of Fiji, while being concurrently accredited to Tuvalu, the Republic of Nauru, and the Kingdom of Tonga. And with that, Ambassador Siddique, I will hand it off to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. I think the protocol was that Ambassador Shahidul Islam will be speaking first, and then I will take over from him. So I hand it over to you, Ambassador Islam.
Thank you very much, Director Irfan Nuruddin, Senior Advisor, Ambassador Osman Siddiqui, Senior Fellow Dr. Rudabe Shahid, Senior Fellow Ridika Batra, then other colleagues in Atlantic Council, whom I meet today for the first time, Jainep and Mr. Master, Michael Master, and all who have joined me today. Good morning to all of you. I'm grateful to Atlantic Council for asking me to speak on Bangladesh perspective on regional economic cooperation. South Asia is one of the fastest growing regions in the world, but it is also one of the least integrated regions in the world, both in terms of physical connectivity and trade and economic connectivity. This is despite the fact that historically this region used to be a center of maritime trade and a commercial hub, and allowed unhindered movement of goods, peoples, and ideas. In the past 40 years, several initiatives have been taken to promote regional economic cooperation in South Asia. These include SAARC, established in 1985, which brought together 8 countries, including Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Then BIMSTEC, which was established in 1997, that brought together Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Sri Lanka from South Asia, and Myanmar and Thailand from Southeast Asia. Then the SASEC, whose membership include Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Myanmar, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. And lastly, BBIN, which is a sub-regional group of Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal, established in 2015. Together, these initiatives sought to enhance physical and economic connectivity in the region, including regional transport connectivity, trade facilitation, energy cooperation, and economic corridor development. Despite these efforts, regional trade has remained around 6%, compared to 10% for economic community of West African states, 25% for ASEAN, and 64% for European Union. In other words, South Asian countries do more trade with external partners than with their regional neighbors. From the early days, Bangladesh became a champion of regional cooperation in South Asia. During a visit to India in 1972, the founding father of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, declared that a balanced development of South Asian region should be accomplished through fair and proper utilization of its resources. Continuing this policy, Bangladesh has been active in all the regional organizations and initiatives I just mentioned earlier. Bangladesh is the current chair of the Indian Ocean Dream Association, another grouping with wider membership of 23 countries relevant to regional cooperation in South Asia. Bangladesh's approach to regional economic cooperation is guided by its own developmental needs. The Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Her Excellency Sheikh Hasina, has repeatedly stated that poverty is the greatest enemy of South Asia. So the first consideration for Bangladesh's regional economic cooperation is to generate more production, more jobs, and more wealth through enhanced trade and investment. SAARC has led to the South Asian Free Trade Association, which aims to reduce tariff on goods traded among the member countries. BIMSTEC is emphasizing more on trade facilitation, including removal of non-tariff barriers, streamlining regulatory frameworks, and harmonization of standards. Currently, BIMSTEC is negotiating two agreements, namely Trade Facilitation Agreement and Customs Cooperation Agreement. Alongside regional initiatives, Bangladesh is also keen to conclude bilateral trading arrangements with its neighbors. Bangladesh has signed a preferential trade agreement with Bhutan in 2020 and is currently negotiating a preferential trade agreement with Sri Lanka. Bangladesh believes that there is a need for a huge capital infusion for making optimum use of the abundant natural and human resources of the region. Billions of dollars are needed to develop hydropower capacity and other infrastructure projects like roads, bridges, and ports. Such huge investment cannot be mobilized solely from the developing and least developed countries within the region. External resources needs to be attracted, and SASEC, directly funded by ADB, has been able to mobilize over 12 billion US dollar to finance large infrastructure projects in South Asia. SAARC and BIMSTEC possibly would need to do the same. The second pillar of our regional cooperation approach is based on the need for greater connectivity in the region and beyond. The Prime Minister of Bangladesh has a vision to transfer Bangladesh into a connectivity hub in the region by enhancing trade, economic, transport, energy, and digital connectivity, and of course, people-to-people connectivity. We believe that a well-established transport network is a prerequisite for fostering trade, investment, tourism, people-to-people contact, and cultural exchange. Bangladesh has resolved its long-standing land boundary disputes with India and delimited our maritime boundary with India and Myanmar in an amicable manner, ushering in further advancement in connectivity. Bangladesh is reviving the land and river routes which connected the millennia-old value chains of the Indian subcontinent. Bangladesh has given port access to landlocked Bhutan and Nepal and also landlocked Northeast India. Bangladesh is developing Matarbari deep sea port to facilitate maritime trade within and beyond the region. An MOU between Chattogram Port of Bangladesh and Ranong Port of Thailand is being negotiated to enhance maritime connectivity with Southeast Asia. Bangladesh has expressed its desire to join the India-Myanmar-Thailand trilateral highway. Bangladesh has requested for regular transit from India to carry out trade with Bhutan and Nepal. Bangladesh has been a party to BBI and motor vehicle agreement between Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal to improve sub-regional connectivity. And Bangladesh has initiated energy cooperation with Bhutan, India, and Nepal. We are currently importing significant amount of electricity from India. In 2017, Bangladesh, Bhutan, and India signed a tripartite MOU to build a 1125 megawatt hydropower project in Bhutan with the provision for export of electricity to Bangladesh via India. In 2018, Bangladesh and Nepal signed a cooperation agreement in energy, paving the way for future import of electricity from Nepal. The third major approach to our regional cooperation is to bolster collaboration on human security. South Asia is vulnerable to climate change, natural disaster, food shortage, pandemic, violent extremism, and organized crimes such as human and drug trafficking. So Bangladesh wants to work with its neighbors to address these challenges. South Asia is one of the most disaster-prone regions in the world and also vulnerable to climate change. Bangladesh has launched the South Asian Regional Office for Global Center of Adaptation in Dhaka to promote locally based adaptation measures to enhance climate resiliency in South Asia. As the chair of the Climate Vulnerable Forum, Bangladesh is also representing the world's 48 most vulnerable countries at global climate negotiating forums. The COVID-19 pandemic seriously impacted the life and livelihood of the region. While the initial reaction of the regional countries was to restrict trade and transport connectivity, they soon came forward to collaborate in fighting the pandemic together. SAARC mobilized the Corona Emergency Fund. Bangladesh contributed 1.5 million US dollars to this fund. Bangladesh sent COVID relief aid to India twice as the country was battling the second wave. Bangladesh also provided US $250 million credit to Sri Lanka to meet its foreign currency needs during the pandemic. Bangladesh provided essential medicines to Bhutan, Maldives, and Nepal to fight COVID-19. Bangladesh also sent 18 specialized nurses to Maldives to help administer COVID-19 vaccines. On the other hand, Bangladesh received a significant amount of vaccine donation from India. Shortage of COVID-19 vaccines evidently constrained the South Asian countries' fight against pandemic, particularly when the situation had worsened in the region. The Prime Minister of Bangladesh has called upon the international community to declare vaccines as global public good. In this spirit, we are encouraging more local production of COVID-19 vaccine in the region. The post-COVID-19 pandemic, as Dr. Shahid mentioned, will be opening up many opportunities to work even closer within the region. The COVID-19 pandemic has ushered in some new areas of collaboration among the regional countries. South Asia can potentially emerge as a preferred supply chain hub by exploiting its manufacturing capacity, improving ease of doing business, and enhancing infrastructure quality. Enhanced cooperation among the countries could strengthen the region's capability to fight the pandemic and its economic losses. It is important that countries make concerted efforts to strengthen regional institutions and frameworks for regional cooperation, improve regional infrastructure and connectivity, and develop cross-border solutions to shared problems. And Bangladesh is willing to work with the neighboring countries on all of these areas. Since I am speaking in the United States, I would like to devote a separate paragraph on the possible role and relevance of the United States to promote economic integration in South Asia. Number one, South Asia has abundant human and natural resources, but it lacks in capital. The United States can infuse capital to spur production and job creation. The United States can also consider providing preferential market access for certain products from the region, for example, textile and ready-made garments, to help cope with the economic losses emanating from the pandemic. Such measures can potentially help develop an alternative stream of global value chain. Second, the U.S. pharmaceutical companies should be encouraged to partner with local companies to produce vaccines and other essential drugs in the region. Expansion of production facilities for COVID-19 vaccines will be crucial in meeting future demands of the region, which is home to almost 1/4 of the humanity. The third point is that South Asia needs huge investment to improve physical connectivity, trade and transit facilities, and energy security. Already, the United States has its strong footprint in the energy sector, but it may also go for financing larger infrastructure projects. Additionally, and very importantly, the United States can help the regional countries to harness blue economy prospects of the Bay of Bengal. The fourth point is the U.S. should more actively facilitate South Asia's economic integration, which can potentially provide better business opportunities for U.S. companies. The United States may increase its engagement with regional organizations such as BIMSTEC, SAARC, and SASEC. The fifth point I would like to mention is that the Rohingya crisis has created a serious challenge for greater regional integration and has stood in the way of bridging South and South Asian economies. We already had a separate session with the Atlantic Council on this serious topic, which is a matter of concern not only for Bangladesh, not only for the region, but for the international community as a whole. The United States can work more vigorously with its friends in the region to resolve this humanitarian crisis, which has potential to blow up as a regional security crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for your most gracious comments. And it's truly an honor to share this webinar with you. And I'd like to thank Deba also for her introductory remarks. Thank you and good morning. good afternoon, and good evening to all watching this program in North America and in South Asia, especially in Bangladesh. And again, thank you, Ambassador, for joining us for this very special event as representative of the government of Bangladesh to the United States. My name is Osman Siddiq, and I'm a senior advisor at the Atlantic Council's South Asia Center. And it is a pleasure to bring this event together in partnership with the Embassy of Bangladesh in Washington, D.C. As the Ambassador alluded, this is the second of two events hosted in conjunction with the Embassy and Ambassador Islam, with the first being on October 27th, focusing on the Rohingya refugee crisis. Today, however, we'll be discussing Bangladesh's role in supporting economic integration in South Asia. Despite the formation of South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation in 1985, commonly known as SARC, the South Asian Preferential Trading Arrangement in 1995, known as SAPTA, and other components like BIMSTEC, which at one point the ambassador was the Secretary General, South Asia remains one of the least integrated regions in the world, hindered by internal and external factors. Yet finding common ground to enhance economic connectivity across South Asia would yield vast benefits for all 8 countries, including but not limited to reductions in the cost of exports and imports, larger gains in real income, and higher quality products, among others. And considering the recent COP26 summit that took place in Glasgow, regional cooperation to address climate change and achieve pledges made could not be underscored. Bangladesh, for one, is incredibly vulnerable to climate change, with 90 million Bangladeshis living in high climate exposure areas, 53 million of which are subject to very high exposure. In 2018, the country ranked 6th on the Global Climate Risk Index and has yet to see relief. Riverbank erosion displaces 50,000 to 200,000 people each year. Thousands more flee each time a major cyclone hits, and the ensuing salinity intrusion leaves millions without much to drink or eat, among other effects. To this end, ladies and gentlemen, today's conversation could not be more relevant. We are grateful for the embassy and the ambassador for being willing to engage in a frank and candid conversation on what he seeks to do, what the future holds, and what Bangladesh can do to support regional integration. I will request my 2 colleagues here, the senior fellows of the center, and most distinguished scholar and thought leader, Dr. Rudeva Shahid, and an icon in the corporate international world, Ridhika Batra, to continue with this discussion. And I will also be taking questions from our virtual audience. But before I do so, please allow me to ask the first question to Ambassador Islam. Thank you. My question is very, very straightforward. Bangladesh remains one of the smaller South Asian countries that could benefit immensely from regional cooperation. In the export-import, the business between South Asian countries today exceeds 65 billion. Potential for regional trade, with that in mind, my question to you is, could you kindly first briefly take us through the main policies and factors that catalyzed Bangladesh's impressive economic growth over the past decade, and what lessons the other regional partners can learn? And secondly, would Bangladesh consider a free trade zone between ASEAN and SARC/SAFTA? Mr. Ambassador.
enjoyed an uninterrupted growth and prosperity. Uh, one factor is that the government tried to support all the players who are involved in the development of the country, the businessmen, private sector, industrialists, the NGO community, civil society. The government allowed everybody to work, and whenever there was a need for policy support, it came forward. Agriculture definitely has worked as the backbone of our economy, as we know that with a population of 75 million in 1970s, we were a food deficit country, and we have been able to triple our food production during the past years. And the government has played a very important role in giving subsidies, providing loans to the farmers, and also making available new technology, fertilizer, pesticide, and so on. The second one is the growth and expansion of ready-made garment industry, which is a major export earner. It is also giving employment to about 5 million workers. That is another aspect, pillar of our economic development. Also, the remittance that is sent by our workers and professionals abroad, that also provides a major strength to our economy. One thing should be added here, which is the phenomenal participation of women in the economic activities in Bangladesh, which is higher than any other country in South Asia. Only in the ready-made garment industry, we have been able to provide jobs for more than 3 million women. So all of these taken together, and also the success in adaptation and mitigation of natural disasters and their impacts on our life and livelihoods have contributed to our economic progress and social progress. One or two things possibly I should mention that which is the tremendous advancement in social progress, which can be measured by the fact that our life expectancy at birth today is 73 years, which is higher than our neighbors like India and Pakistan. Our per capita income has also surpassed those of our larger neighbors I just mentioned. So I do not want to really advise what other countries should learn from us, but of course there are elements and they can compare notes, as we always do. We compare notes with India, for example, to understand what are their good policies which we can replicate or adopt. So they could possibly take one or two lessons from what we are doing. The second thing that I'm to address, which is very specific, as you said, Ambassador, free trade zone taking on board both SAPTA countries and ASEAN. I believe Bangladesh will be very, very happy to see that prospect, because Bangladesh is located between South Asia and Southeast Asia, and it is prepared to play the role of a bridge between these two thriving regions. And as I had mentioned in my presentation, that the Prime Minister of Bangladesh truly wants to transfer Dhaka and the rest of the country as a hub for connectivity, trade, in terms of trade, investment, physical connectivity, transportation, and so on. And as you have seen, that we are trying to be helpful to everybody, so that they get access to the sea. For example, for Bhutan and Nepal, it is very essential that they get access to the sea. And Bangladesh has been doing whatever is possible to support these two friendly countries. We are also opening up our ports for the use by the northeastern states of India. We'll continue with this policy to help others, and thus we'll try to promote the idea of shared progress and prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador Islam. I would like to open up the floors to my other distinguished panelists, Rudeba and Radhika. So please feel free to ask any questions you feel at this point you could ask the ambassador. Thank you.
Sure. I'll go ahead before Radhika. Thank you, ambassadors, for touching on very important subtopics on the wider topic that that we're discussing today. My question is about how Bangladesh can benefit from cooperation regionally. So how can a relatively small country in South Asia, if I may call it, such as Bangladesh, cooperate with other trade partners besides India and China and maximize the benefit from such cooperation? My second question is also about regional issues. So, as you know, Bangladesh has issues related to water sharing regarding Tista Treaty with the state of West Bengal. So, how can through regional cooperation that can be addressed? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Shahid. In fact, Bangladesh's cardinal principle on which our foreign policy is based is friendship to all and malice to none. We have no animosity against any country, and we are comfortable having trade and political exchange with all the countries of the world, of course, in the region and beyond. We are, if you look at our export trade, you will see that we export more to the West, meaning the European Union and the USA. The USA is the single largest destination of our export. And collectively, European Union is the largest recipient of our export. But when it comes to buying, we are buying mostly from China and India. So that is something that this is a major. I would say that I mean there is no contradiction in this kind of trade pattern, but it is of course dictated by where you have the opportunity to sell your commodities and from where you can buy your goods, necessary goods at a reasonable price within a short time, but the transportation cost is also low. So this is dictated by all these practical factors. We are, of course, trying to diversify our products, and also we are trying to find newer markets. We are trying to reach out to the former Eastern European countries, the Middle East, and Africa and Latin America too. We have been opening new missions to these countries so that economic diplomacy can be pursued by our diplomats there. Within the region, we are very comfortable doing trade with the regional partners. Like our trade with India is significant. We import more than $6 billion worth goods from India. I think the latest figure would be even much more higher than that. We are trying to negotiate trade agreements with other countries. I have already mentioned that we have a preferential trade agreement with Bhutan. We are going to do the same with Sri Lanka. We are also negotiating with Indonesia. I just wanted to revisit the concept of a smaller country, relatively smaller country. If you look at the size of our population, it is the 8th largest country in the world. And if you look at the size of our economy, this is also within first 50 countries in the world, somewhere at 40th, I think. And according to the predictions by leading international financial institutions, including IMF, we are going to be number 25th economy, large economy, by 2030. So we are not defensive in doing trade with any partner, and we don't discriminate between export and import. We want to export absolutely, that we want, but at the same time, we welcome any possibility of importing from either neighboring countries or from external sources, if that make economic sense. Thank you.
And Deva, are you happy with that answer? If not, do you have a follow-up question? If not, is Ridhika available for a question for the ambassador?
I actually had a follow-up question. I mean, I think the first question was a little bit broad, so I think the Teesta water issue, I mean, that was probably left out. So if the ambassador wants to touch on that, or we can come back to it again. Thank you.
No, I'll be very happy to come back right away. Yes. In fact, it is not only the waters of Teesta River, but also there are a number of countries, a number of rivers, common rivers that we need to share water. Of those rivers is 50 plus rivers we have, which flow from India into Bangladesh. And we have been successful in signing a water sharing treaty of the Ganges. And we were hoping and we were working on this agreement for sharing of this the river water. Looks like that we have not yet been able to reach that point whereby we can, both countries, Bangladesh and India, can share, sign this agreement. From Bangladesh, we have been telling our partner, India, again and again, that this is very important for Bangladesh's economy and agriculture. So Bangladesh will continue to raise this issue with India. It is very important that we are able to share the water of all the common rivers between Bangladesh and India in the same spirit that we have been able to resolve our land boundary dispute. Then we have been able to demarcate the disputed maritime boundary in a peaceful manner. And we are very hopeful that we'll be able to resolve this issue also. And it's not only particular one or two rivers. We believe in the development and management of the entire water basin between the Bay of Bengal and the Himalayan mountain system. It is very important And it is good for all the countries in the region, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal in particular, that we are able to resolve all issues bilaterally and also plurilaterally, taking into consideration the respective interests of all these countries for a longer term solution that help our economy and society.
Thank you so much, Ambassador.
Ritika, are you there?
I'm here.
Thank you.
See me? Can you hear me?
I can see you. I can hear you. Ambassador,
Perfect.
you can ask your question to Ambassador Islam now.
Thanks. Hello, Ambassador Islam. This is Ridhika.
Hello. Yes.
When you started with your opening remarks, it was music to my ears when you started talking about trade and how regional cooperation and trade go hand in hand. I cannot not talk about something which is growingly becoming very important for most of the Asian countries. Some of them want to be part of it, some of them don't want to be part of it. So I wanted to know, where does Bangladesh stand on RCEP? Because RCEP seems to have, as you know better than me, that 30% of the world population would become part of the RCEP. Big markets like China, Japan, and South Korea would have access to other Asian markets, and other Asian markets have access to those big markets as consumers and producers. Especially for Bangladesh, if hypothetically it becomes part of RCEP, which it seems like there has been an interest for Bangladesh to be part of RCEP, the one industry that gets benefited the most in Bangladesh is the e-commerce, because it's meant to be growing by 2024 worth $3 billion. And if that happens, that the Bangladeshi e-commerce market would get access to all the other RCEP nations. We've been reading and hearing that Bangladesh has an interest in becoming part of RCEP. But what's the inside chatter? Where does the government stand? Where does the industry in Bangladesh stand on RCEP? Has there been some kind of a resilience from other RCEP members for Bangladesh to be part of it, or a welcoming attitude? That's the first question. And the second question is, with this whole growing conversation around Quad, Japan, India, Australia, and US, the conversation around Quad is very security driven. It is also talking about vaccines and healthcare and all other kinds of cooperation and interoperability. Does Bangladesh see this as a positive development, an opportunity for Bangladesh, or does it view it differently? Those were my two questions. Thank you, Ambassador Islam.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, on RCEP, I must acknowledge that I have not really followed very closely. So your question was a kind of introduction to, useful introduction for me. Yes, Bangladesh is interested to be a party to this arrangement. In fact, Bangladesh is very, very open to join this kind of economic groupings, whereby there is a possibility of a win-win situation, collective benefit. I know that only yesterday our foreign minister had a meeting with the Indonesian visiting foreign minister who came to Dhaka to participate in IORA ministerial meeting. And we have expressed to Indonesia our interest to become a member of RCEP, and we are hoping that they will be helping us to be part of RCEP. And I want to believe that our colleagues in the headquarters in the foreign ministry is not only talking with Indonesia, but they may be talking with other countries too, to express our interest. The second question is Quad. Quad is a reality. It is a forum of 4 countries. All the 4 countries are very close partners, development partners of Bangladesh, Australia, then India, Japan, and USA. So there is no reason as to why we should not look at Quad in a positive vein. But the benefit which Quad can bring, we'll have to see. Individually, we have seen that during the COVID pandemic, we have been benefited individually from the Quad countries, but I don't know whether there was any collective intervention from the Quad countries to mobilize support, COVID support, other than their intention that they had expressed in their meeting that they will be fighting. So it is possible that the individual members of Quad, what they are doing to support countries of our region may have emanated from that kind of common position, which is very good. I'd like to see that in a very positive vein. I stop here unless you ask some more questions, follow-up questions from the part.
That's about it. Thanks for your answer, Ambassador.
Yeah. At this point, Ambassador Islam, I have an audience question. And the question is asking again on river water sharing between nations of the region. And the second question is, how can border killings be addressed amicably amongst neighboring nations?
For the water sharing, of course, Bangladesh will be working bilaterally with India. We have the forums necessary to conduct these discussions at the technical level as well as at political level. So this will continue from our side to remain engaged with India to see that water sharing on individual rivers can be achieved as soon as possible. On the border killing, I would say that it is a paradox in South Asia that there is no border killing in India-Pakistan border or India-China border. But India and Bangladesh are the best of neighbors. But this kind of killing is taking place. The both countries have discussed this matter again and again, repeatedly. And there has been a high degree of political commitment from both sides to see that there is no more border killing. But unfortunately, at the ground level, there has not been adequate reflection of this commitment. So I know that our foreign minister very recently expressed his frustration that still border killing is taking place. So we would definitely want to see that there is no killing in the border of the most friendly neighbors in South Asia. Thank you.
I have a question for you, Mr. Ambassador, and the question relates to the 900-pound gorilla that is now roving in the region, and that is the country of Afghanistan. And as you know, I do not want to go into the details of what happened over the last few months, but the stability of Afghanistan is very important for the region. And that does not mean that we have to condone any anti-terror activities that they might pursue or anti-women agenda they may have and anti-democratic means. However, is Bangladesh prepared as part of its vision for the regional economic growth, includes Afghanistan? Specifically, I have one question that you may address. You know, you mentioned about the credit swap facility that you guys, the government of Bangladesh did with Sri Lanka, which will help Colombo tide over its foreign exchange crisis. Ambassador, this was a landmark announcement. I know you didn't want to emphasize that too much, but it turned the heads of the fiscal and monetary policymakers all around the world. Bangladesh now is a lender nation Okay, so that was a huge step forward for Bangladesh's fiscal and monetary policymakers. Now, would Bangladesh look at Afghanistan, which is currently facing a dire foreign exchange crunch, to be helped in some similar fashions that you did with Colombo?
Yeah, thank you, Ambassador, for raising this question. We have a great deal of sympathy and goodwill for the people of Afghanistan. We have historical connection, cultural, business, and tourism connection with Afghanistan. You and me, we have read the famous book by Sayyid Mustafa Ali, I'm sure, which shows that there is a reciprocal goodwill between the people of Bangladesh and the Afghan people. In fact, Bangladesh's leading NGO, BRAC, was involved. Until recently, it was involved in developing economic participation of women and also social development projects. And I believe that given a situation whereby these people can go back with safety and I mean, in a situation where you feel safe, which is very important. So, which may not still be present in Afghanistan. And I believe that Bangladesh, if there is any, I would say that relatively speaking, a permanent political dispensation in Afghanistan, whereby you understand that what is going to happen for the next couple of years or 5 years, then it will be easier for the government of Bangladesh also to be more engaged with the Afghanistan authority. So I think it will be necessary for us to wait a little bit to see how the situation is improving and stabilizing in Afghanistan. But I would like to share one concern that you may have raised indirectly, which is that people of Afghanistan, they are suffering from hunger. And, we are reading from newspaper that they really need food supply and other kind of supplies. So I'm sure that some of our policymakers will be listening to your question, and they will think about it, which is the best way to be able to come forward and help Afghanistan. It could be through foreign currency, it could be from food aid or whatever. I mean, there are many ways, and whatever is doable under the circumstances by the Bangladesh leadership, they will consider that.
Thank you very much, sir. Rudeba, Ridhika, any other follow-up questions that you may have? Do you have any questions? Any further questions?
Yes. I had a question about the Quad, actually. So I will just add that. Does China's tense relations with Japan and India, which are very friendly, which are friends to Bangladesh, add additional pressure on Bangladesh to maybe cooperate with or not to cooperate with this security initiative in the future? Not exactly to join, but to cooperate.
Thank you for this question. In fact, WAD is a forum of, it's a very exclusive forum of four countries. Even traditional allies like South Korea could not join. I mean, there was no room for them. I mean, there is no question of Bangladesh joining Quad. There is no question. There is no invitation and there is no consideration. Uh, we have listened with a great deal of interest what President Biden has recently said, that they are not in conflict with China, but they are in competition. So this is a very good way of looking at what is happening around us. And we'll be very happy to be associated with all the countries in the region and beyond, um, if that is that serves our best national interest, and also that serves the collective interest of the international community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Ridhika, do you have any questions for the Ambassador?
I'm all right, Ambassador. I think my questions were very well answered. So thank you so much, Ambassador Sidhu.
Wonderful. Again, we have about a few minutes left. And in closing, I'd like to make a few remarks. Today, as Bangladesh celebrates half a century of independence, the country has become a case study in economic development that few would have predicted earlier. We all remember the cold remarks in 1971 by then U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, calling the new nation an international basket case. This year, in congratulating Bangladesh's Golden Jubilee, Secretary of State Tony Blinken remarked, and I quote, "We affirm the strong, enduring U.S.-Bangladesh relationship and look forward to working together to address the challenges in South Asia and the Indo-Pacific." Ladies and gentlemen, nobody can miss the irony in this. Thank you. Now, when its GDP growth surpassed Pakistan in 2006, many dismissed it as a one-off fluke. But Bangladesh has outpaced Pakistan every year since then, and astonishingly, is now one of the world's fastest growing economies. Bangladesh's rise is a story of both the deliberate intervention and chance. The country owes a large part of its success to progressive NGOs, most notably BRAC and the Grameen Bank. Bangladesh has one of the world's largest microfinance sectors, which has enabled households to break out of the debt trap and start their own small business, especially for women. It has given women in Bangladesh a new dignity and a new respect. It has developed also its own labor regulations that were flexible without giving corporations unfettered power. This played an important role in Bangladesh becoming a successful global manufacturing hub. Today, it is second to China in the export of ready-made garments. Now, to highlight what I just said, I want to just emphasize on a couple of statistics. And that statistics is a timeline, 1971 and 2021. Just a few numbers. In 1971, the population of Bangladesh was roughly 66 million people. Today, it is roughly 168 million people, almost 3 times. However, the GDP in current US dollars in 1971 was about 8.7 billion. Today, it is close to 325 billion. Total reserves, and that's a very important factor when I mentioned about Sri Lanka. At time of independence in the 1970s was close to 270 million US dollars. Today, it is close to 45 billion US dollars. Market capitalization in current US dollars is 1.399% of GDP. Today, it is 49.94 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, I could go on and on showing you the statistics that made Bangladesh a prime economic success story of South Asia. Despite COVID, despite the Rohingya crisis, despite lack of inflow of remittances from overseas, Bangladesh is an outlier. in terms of economic development over in 1920. And it has outpaced India and other countries. And we think that the governing principle of Bangladesh is working when it comes to economic matters. And we want to congratulate the country for maintaining its focus toward helping the wherewithal of the common people. Mr. Ambassador, I want to thank you again for joining us today. In closing, I'd like to again thank you and your staff members for their utmost collaboration in making this series a success. I'd also like to thank my fellow panel members, Dr. Rudeba and Shahid and Ridika Batra, for their questioning and comments, and of course, the support from all members of the council, especially Harris and Capuchin Coronet. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our fearless leader here at the council, Dr. Irfan Nuruddin, who is the director of the Asia Center here in the Atlantic Council, without whose initiative and guidance, this series would not have taken place. Finally, I'd like to thank all the audiences stretching from North America and South Asia, especially Bangladesh, for joining in. Thank you and God bless you all.
Thank you so much. We look forward to continuing our